Tired of arguments ruining your relationships? Learn how to build communication bridges and resolve conflict effectively in this video. Discover practical strategies for strengthening connections and fostering understanding. Now, I do not claim to be a professional in this area. I'm still learning communication. And that's why these videos are important to me, because I need to learn proper communication skills in order to communicate with my son, my husband, my kids, and anybody else that is in my life. So as we look more into the understanding of communication, we also have to understand the triggers of disagreements, including miscommunication, misunderstandings, unmet expectations, and differing values. These are all very important aspects and parts of communication. So my previous 2 videos ago, I talked about communication and how it is important for us to not just talk to each other, but try our best to understand what the other one is saying. I talked about how we might be talking to somebody, but they might not be grasping what we're saying because their understanding of the words that we're using might be different than our understanding of them. So in this, we also have to understand the triggers of a disagreement. What is causing the miscommunication, which could be, like I said, understanding words differently, understanding just whatever you're talking about. There's a different understanding in these things, whether it's values, expectations, or whatever the cause is. And so that's also going to go next into the role of emotions. We each have emotions, and some of us might shut down in conflict, and some of us might show our frustration. Some of us might be frustrated or angry, but it's on the inside, and others of us allow it to maybe explode too much. So that's one thing that we need to learn to not allow to happen, is to, or if it does happen, we need to correct it. But do our best to learn to not, to be able to regulate our emotions, and that will also help the conflict. Doesn't matter who it's with, whether it's very important with your children, it's very important with your spouse, it's important with your siblings, whoever you have need to maintain a good relationship with, your boss. These things are very important in order to, sorry, I've got my laptop here, and if I don't touch it periodically, it will shut down. So we have to recognize our own feelings. When we're feeling angry, when we're feeling frustrated, when we're feeling fearful, emotions can escalate. And, for this video, I have my notes behind me, or behind my camera. So if you see me looking off to the side, that is why, because I did mention in my last video, love language, which I really didn't touch on, love language, in my video. So I'm trying to do things better, because I do get distracted very easily and go off on tangents. One thing will trigger something in my mind, and I'll go off on something else. So enough said. I have my notes down to make sure I stay on track and I don't go on as many rabbit holes, as I normally would. So anyhow, so learning how to regulate one's emotions is very important. Now, a lot of us in, the Gen X's generations, or boomers, or, those before, and possibly even the Gen Z, or, millenniums, depending on whose parents you have, or, if us parents don't know how to regulate our emotions, it's very rare that our kids are going to learn from us anyhow how to regulate their emotions. Is it possible that they learn to regulate their emotions from their teachers, from other peers, from other parents? Yes, it is, but if we're not learning how to do that ourselves, then it's very hard for them to learn. So although in saying this, it has been through my kids that I am learning that regulating one's emotions is normal. I didn't grow up that way. I didn't grow up seeing that happen in my life. So, I mean, even on TV shows, it was the part of our life that people flew off the handle in TV shows. It was the normal thing, and that's how many households and my friends' lives were. And maybe not all of them, but a few of them, right? If we're understanding our own emotions, then it's a better chance that we're going to learn to regulate our emotions. Now, I'm still learning that. There are from time to time, I'm still learning where and how and when I need to regulate my emotions in different circumstances. So I'm not trying to say, hey, I'm perfect at all this. I'm learning right along with you. So let's learn together. So we need to recognize communication patterns. Doing this, we need to identify different conflict styles. So there's the avoidance. So when we're not wanting to talk about anything, or someone is not wanting to talk about anything, that's the avoidance. We've got the aggression, when somebody is getting angry, when maybe somebody's bringing something up to them. They're going to get angry about it, or the person that is bringing something up to them is angry. There's the passive aggressive. So you're trying to be passive, but you're being very aggressive in doing so, the way you're saying it. You're trying to, it's almost like a manipulative way of doing things. You want the person to think that you're being passive, but yet you just have this undertone of aggression at the same time. So all of these affect communication in a negative way. There's nothing positive about it. So in this, the reason I really want to get back into doing these videos, which I had stopped for a couple of weeks due to my health, but I'm getting back, feeling better again, so back to doing my videos again. Now, in my communication video, 2 videos ago, which I will have at the end of this video, they're active listening. My sister mentioned it in a comment, because I had mentioned that my dad took communication classes and he couldn't figure out at 78 years of age, maybe 77, why our family had always had a poor communication style. And he couldn't understand how he didn't get that across to us as kids growing up. But it's a large thing. And my sister had said that, maybe a year or 2 before he passed away as well, he had talked about learning to be an active listener as opposed to always interrupting and always talking over top of other people. So the good thing is we can learn our whole life. And we should be learning our whole life. So as we go into this, one thing that is very important in communication is the power of empathy. What does that mean? Well, that means putting yourself in the other person's shoes, trying to feel what they're feeling. Understand that what they're going through, trying to understand how they're hearing you. And even if they don't agree with you, trying to understand their perspective in things. Whether you agree with them or not, that doesn't mean that everything has to be in a huge conflict, right? So there's another aspect of active listening, and that is our nonverbal communication. Now, recognizing the role of body language, tone of your voice, and facial expressions in conveying emotions and understanding. Now, a lot of times we don't realize, recognize our own facial expressions. We don't recognize maybe the way we're sitting, the way we're holding ourselves might come across in a way that we don't really care what the other person is saying to us. which can bring some disaccord in the relationship or in the communication as well. Another thing, which I did mention in the other video, is seeking clarification. Clarification in what we're saying, clarification in what is trying to be brought across to each other. Encouraging the use, and now this, I have to look at this because even though it's something that I understand, I'm still learning about it. So I guess I don't 100%, understand, but it's something that I am wanting to practice and become better at. And that is the use of open-ended questions and paraphrasing to ensure both parties fully understand each other's perspective. Now, one person, who was it? Oh, I do. We have a construction company, right? And so we did a job, built a health and wellness center for this lady. And she would always say to me, now what I'm understanding is that you're saying that you're going to do this and this and this. And in the beginning, I was like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But you know what? She's a good communicator. That is good communication. Some people are going to get frustrated with that because they're like, yeah, well, that's what I just said. But yes, but she's confirming that she understood it correctly. She might not use the exact same words, but she was just confirming that, yes, that is what she indeed was saying. Or I was saying that she was understanding me properly as well. We want to be able to fully understand each other's perspectives, ideas, whatever we are trying to bring across to each other, we need to fully understand that. So asking questions, and as my notes say here, asking open-ended questions is very important. And we will get into those kind of things in our next video. A little bit more deep dive into effective communication in the next video. These are kind of just touching the surface and each different phases of communication. And so another area here is navigating differences through effective communication. Now, there's so many different types of people using I statements, emphasizing the importance of taking ownership of your feelings and expressing them clearly without blaming the other person. Now, that's how I grew up. I grew up learning to blame other people for my misunderstandings, for whatever. And I didn't realize that until probably about 6-7 years ago, 7 maybe. And I've been learning it ever since, is, okay, what am I doing here? Am I blaming the other person for something that they didn't understand? Am I blaming the other person that I'm not understanding them instead of just trying to reword things or ask questions that are going to get you to understand each other's communication? In resolving the conflict in the communication, we need to explore strategies for finding mutually acceptable solutions, highlighting the importance of being flexible and willing to make concessions. So willing to say, yes, this is where I need to improve things, this is where I faulted, whatever the case may be, we need to learn to do things better. So in this video, again, what we're trying to do is bridge the gaps of communication. So one way of doing this is finding common ground, identifying shared goals and values to build upon, promoting collaboration and a sense of partnership. Because a lot of times people want to be the leader. They want to be the one in charge. But that doesn't build a friendship, that doesn't build your strength with the parent and the kids or the spouses. There's no strength in that, in trying to be the one in charge. It is more in sharing the roles and building upon that partnership as opposed to trying to be the boss. Now, another step that we need to take that I did mention earlier is repairing trust and strengthening relationships. So once your bridge is broken between two people, you have to be able to want to bridge that gap again, to repair the bridge, right? There's been most likely trust that has been broken, and the strength of that relationship is now weak. So the bridge might not be completely broken, but before it becomes completely broken, you want to repair it. So let's look at ways that we can work on repairing the bridge that we are on. Now, I apologize if my hands get in the way here as I'm moving up the video. It does take a lot of effort for me to do these videos due to my chronic illness, but I still want to learn, and I still want to help others to learn. So let's continue together, and each video I hope to do better. I'm using headphones in hopes of you being able to hear me more clearly, and in the future I will possibly buy myself a microphone. But as for now, we're going to go back to repairing trust and strengthening our relationships. I cannot talk. All right, I'm getting tired. But we're almost done, so it's all good. So we talked about earlier acknowledging responsibility. So if there's a conflict, and one thing is to acknowledge our responsibility. How did we respond to that conflict? Did we create it, make it bigger, or did we try to de-escalate the conflict? Recognizing the importance of taking accountability for your own role in this conflict, creating this will create a honest and authentic relationship. They will see you as being authentic and honest, and that is what you want in a relationship. Is you want to be honest and authentic, and you would like the people to be able to see that that is in you. So as you learn to do that, they will see. Now, another thing is, if you're wanting to bridge that gap, repair the bridge of communication, of the conflict in the relationship, expressing forgiveness is very important. Now, that was one thing that my kids, when they were younger, my older kids, said that I was very poor at doing. I expected them to tell me, yeah, I forgive you, or whatever, just so that I knew. But I found it very hard to say, oh yeah, I forgive you, or because I didn't want to say it's okay, because it wasn't okay. But I wasn't great at saying, yes, it's okay. We'll work on it. But that's something that I am working on, and have been working on since my older kids brought this to my attention. Now that's something that takes practice, right? All right, so emphasizing the forgiveness will bring healing. It's very powerful. It'll bring healing not only to the other person, but to yourself. Now, like I said, it wasn't easy for me. I would apologize a lot of the times. And my kids, when they apologized, my thing was telling them that I have accepted their apology. And that's very important in a parent-child relationship, as well as in spouses. So in order to move forward and rebuild that trust in the relationship, the trust that has been broken, the forgiveness is very powerful and needs to be sincere. And even those words, sometimes just taking those first steps of those words of saying I forgive you, even if it's in your own mind first, and then later it is brought to the other person's attention that you do forgive them as you're trying to bridge this conflict. It's very powerful. And just like loving someone is a choice, forgiving somebody is a choice as well. So another thing is strengthening communication habits. Okay, so this is something I'm still working on. I am hoping that As I practice, I will get better at it. And I know that I have got improved on it in the previous years, but it's something I'm still working on. So discussing healthy communication strategies like regular check-ins. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Are we okay? Is there something that I've done to offend you? And whatever else that you can think of that you would say, hey, are you okay? Or just to check in to say, hey, let's work on this conflict that we have. Let's try to fix this conflict that we have. So different resolution practices and prioritizing open dialogue. So as I listened to my older kids, how they told me that I wasn't great at hearing them, I've tried, and even my son, who is 10 years younger than the youngest, 14 years younger than the older, or 13, has also told me that I don't listen sometimes. Now, there are times that I might be listening, but I'm not agreeing. And even that needs to be brought across properly from a parent to a child, and vice versa, from a child to an adult. Now, what my hopes are is that and so far it is happening. It's not, a lot of it is not, especially for my older kids, is not from me, but from their research, and they're seeing healthy relationships, and me learning from them. So building bridges for a brighter future. Now that is my goal. We've still got another, I'm 53. I don't know how many more years I'm going to live, whether it's 30, 35, 40, I have no clue. But we have that time, whether it's 20, 30, 40 years left that I have with my kids, with my spouse. We have those years left to learn how to communicate and to have a brighter future as a family unit. So what we need to do is invest in self-awareness. We need to make sure that we are aware where we need to change, in what ways the communication that other people will understand, where you might get too hot-headed or angry too easily or frustrated too easily. Basically, learning where you do not know how to self-regulate your emotions. So we need to encourage ourselves and others, encouraging you to reflect on your own communication patterns. How do you communicate? And is it working in your relationships? What triggers you? And what triggers the conflict between you and the person that you're trying to have a better relationship with? Another thing that is very important is the power of patience and perseverance. Now, I've always been one to persevere. I don't give up very easily. I didn't always go about it the right way, but I would try to communicate with my kids that sharing with me what I've done wrong, how I've spoken to them in a way that has hurt them. Communicate that with me so that I can grow as well and I can do things better. Recognizing that resolving conflicts takes time and effort. Now, when there's been years of conflict and there hasn't been a lot of resolution there, resolve, it will take a lot more longer, but be persistent. Not obnoxious, not annoying, being understanding of the other person's feelings, but be persistent. And in time, hopefully, if you're learning to do things better and evaluating yourself properly, then there will come a time of understanding and resolution in your relationship, whether it's between spouses, parents and kids, siblings, whoever it is that you're wanting to create that resolve with. Excuse my hands here. Next time I'll set up my camera a little bit better. But the last thing that I'm going to say is we need to cultivate a culture of respect. Now, the old times, right? Parents would say, it doesn't matter how I act, you have to respect me. It doesn't matter what I say to you, you need to respect me. Well, that's not the way it works. If you're very disrespectful, like the parents are the ones supposedly showing kids how to behave. And if we're wanting to show them how to behave properly, we need to behave properly, the way that we expect them to act. Many times what I've found is we expect children, to behave better than an adult behaves, and that doesn't work. So what we want to do is foster the culture of respect. But we're wanting to highlight the value of fostering a positive environment where disagreements are seen as opportunities of growth and connection, just like mistakes are also cultivated, and people are learning that mistakes are also used in a positive manner and not a negative manner. Well, I want to just give you a touch. I know this video is a little bit longer than I normally do, but I just want to give you a little bit of a highlight on how I recently in the last 9 months, have started restarted my YouTube channel. And that is, I was married for 29 years and we separated. I figured that, I had become cold. I had become, the bridge between us had broke. It might have been hanging on by a thread, but that would be about it. And that was the only way that I felt that if there was going to be any hope for our marriage, that the separation would have to be more than 2 weeks. So I've done videos that I will add to the end of this video that you can check out and see, follow a little bit of my story. The reason I share it is not to broadcast that I've separated. I'm not about that. I'm about trying to help others get through their rough times, knowing whether their relationship is fixable or not. Because you definitely, if you're in a very abusive relationship, there hasn't been any show of change, you don't want to stay in that relationship. You want to be able to get out of that relationship. So anyhow, we are going to end this video and we will see you next Friday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I try to do videos every Friday, 6 p.m. If I don't make it that Friday, I try to do it the Saturday. But sometimes, depending on how I'm feeling during the week, I try to do, if I'm feeling well, I'll do, a couple videos during the week to make sure I've got a couple weeks of videos going. But I have a lot going on in my life right now, so that hasn't happened, as well as me not feeling well on top of it. So anyhow, I will stop blabbering and see you next Friday. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. And also, just remember, this is a safe place. Yes, if you want to call a safe place local, go ahead. But this is your safe place for anybody to come and share and be a part of my community. Take care. Love y'all. Bye-bye.